So there's a lot of things to talk about, ups and downs and pressures and whatever's going on in life. One of the main things this week that they were very busy with is that some boy won the national spelling contest by spelling the word knedel. Now here's my kasha. Is it knedel? Would it say Ray or kneidel? Is it knedel? A knedel, you know, how did he spell it? How could you spell it wrong? Any way you spell it, l'chayra, someone says it that way.
Question, is that a right word?
That was the shot.
The question is, how can you eat one knedel?
How can you eat one knedel? Right, it has to be knedlach. Right, I hear. Okay. Somebody was telling me once that works in some kind of a telemarketer, and he was saying that people sometimes call up and he tells them their name. So this guy was saying, his name is Rabbi Pinchas. Can you spell it, please? He goes, yeah. P as in psychology. So the guy said, like, he has people say, K as in knife, Y as in you. Somebody once told him. Y as in you. Okay. Well, this man called up and said, what is he? He said his name was, he lived on Victoria Gardens. You spell, he goes, V as in vice. That was his... So it's just another example of how so many things seem to us one way, and in reality it is something else. And so many things that seem to us twisted and crooked is straight, and things that seem to us straight is really warped. I don't remember if I mentioned this last week or not, but we had, you see, when I had the notebooks, I was able to look what I said last week, but with the computer, every time I try to go to last week, I don't know, it goes. I like pens and paper. All right. So we had in camp. We had this person. He used to give out. He was an old man, and he used to give out the snack. I remember, and his hands were trembling. And suffice it to say that often the punch did not wind up in the cup, and he started screaming at everybody. But there was one kid that was really good at it. He would hold the cup like this. He was good at catching a moving target, and all the punch went into the cup. And then he would say, the man would say, why can't everyone else hold their cup straight like him? Right? So what's straight and what's crooked, of course, is very different to different people. What's the story? The policeman stops someone, he gets out of the car. How much did you drink? Oh, nothing. Okay, walk straight between the two yellow lines. He goes, first straighten out the two yellow lines. How could I walk straight on it? The two yellow lines go like this, right? Straighten out the lines. We see a different world from up there. And we once even spoke about this, that in your vision, the way it works is you see upside down. Your eyes actually see it upside down, and your brain interprets it to turn it around straight. So why couldn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu make it you should see straight? The Elamai, that inherently we know that what we see is not what it is. There's a famous pirkei, Rabbi Eliezer, about someone who had three very good friends, or three friends. He had one real close friend. This was his best friend. And the other one was a pretty good acquaintance. And the third guy was somebody, in shul, he said good morning to. And so then he's summoned by the king to come to the castle. That was not good. Summoned by the king to come to the castle, give out, being summoned by the authorities. So he runs to his three friends. He runs to his best friend and says, can you come with me and stand in front of the king? And he says, no, I would love to, but no, that's not, no. But you're my best friend. I was. No, but you don't understand. If you stand with me in front of the king, so maybe, he'll see I have friends and he won't be so angry at me. Listen, I have a shekel appointment. I can't. You don't have a shekel. I'm going to get one. Bye. So he meets the other guy, and the other guy who was his acquaintance, he says, I'll come with you to the castle. I'll give you chizuk. I'll come with you to the castle. Thank you. Going to come in with me? No. Why not? Dentist appointment. You don't have teeth. That's what I'm going to the dentist for. Bye. And the person that he knew very casually, very, very casually, every once in a while, he had chapter shmuz with him, maybe, and he said, this person said, what, you're in trouble? I'm coming with you, I'm standing with you in front of the king, and I'm gonna tell the king that we're together, we're one unit, and so on. Very surprising. Life is very surprising. So the pirkei Rabbi Eliezer says that it goes like this, that the first friend is money. We think money is our best friend. Yeah, won the lottery, that's it. Life is mine. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. I told you this many times. I have a friend of mine who's quite wealthy. A lot of wealthy friends. That's where it stops. But that's good. Not complaining. So he said, I envy you. I said, why do you envy me? He says, you dream one day you're going to win the lottery, it's going to solve your problems. He says, I know that it doesn't solve my problems. But I have money, and I have plenty of problems that money doesn't solve. So the money that's the first friend that you think is your best friend, but when you're in trouble, it does not really help. Does not really help. Even though they say you would rather cry in a Mercedes than on a bike, well, the mice crying is crying. The money does not follow you. I used to say the story, you'd rather cry in a 2013 Mercedes than a 99 Astro, but then I stopped doing that. People get the wrong idea. I had today, by mistake, I took someone's coat in a shul, mixed it up. So I'm trying to get a hold of him to give him back his coat. And so finally I got a hold of him on the phone, or my wife went into the store, something like that, and I told him, okay, can I have my coat and we'll take back your coat? He said, what's your name? I told him my name. He goes, and where's the coat? He says, the coat's in my car. He goes, that famous Astro? I said, yeah. He says, get the coat out of the car, please, right away. I don't want it to be part of the next story. Well, something like that happened, more or less. I don't know if it's exactly that way, but you get the idea. I was convinced that the air conditioning was coming out of where the stereo sound is supposed to come out, and the stereo sound was coming out of where the air conditioning. I drove into my mechanic. I said, is that possible? He said, with your car? Yes. So I know you'd rather be in... money does not help. Money does not solve all problems. Okay? And the middle friend is your family. And the family taka is more loyal to you, we hope. And the family taka comes to the person, to the Levaya, like the famous letter from Rabbi Kivega, and they walk him till the palace. But that's it. That's where the family stops. And it's the little Torah and mitzvah, it's the benching, the davening, the little things that he picked up. That's what I thought is just, I got to learn, I'll daven also, do the Rabbi Shalom a favor, right? Do the Rabbi Shalom a favor, we'll daven. I heard the story from Schachter Rosh Hashiva. He told me once he was on a bus. Trumas and Meisers in Eretz Yisrael, some people take off Trumas and Meisers on their own. They don't trust whatever the Hashgacha. I don't know why not. But they do it on their own just to be sure. But it's very complicated. You've got to take off Truma and Meiser and all the different Meisers. So the Chazon Ish has a whole nusach, how you say it exactly, how you proportion everything. Meiser and Trumas Meiser and the percentages. So some people just take part of the apple off and they say Kafi ha-Chazon Ish, whatever. Of course, the shortcut. So this lady is on a bus and she has like a bag of apples. She takes out one apple and she throws it across the bus into like a wastebasket. She goes, and this is for the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish does not need your apple. Okay? We do Hashem a favor. We'll daven mincha. Today I'm a good boy. Today I actually daven. And that all of a sudden, we come up to the Yanu Emes. That's our only friend. That's the friend that goes with us all the way through. So this week we're going to bench Rosh Chodesh, which is interesting because when is Rosh Chodesh? Next Shabbos. But all the brachos of the week are based on the previous Shabbos. So in a way, it's like very distant from when we're benching Rosh Chodesh this week. Well, we do bench Rosh Chodesh this week, don't we? No, last week we benched. I'm sorry. Last week we benched Rosh Chodesh. It gets confusing after a while. Last week we benched Rosh Chodesh, and this week is Rosh Chodesh. So we have this whole week. We're in the week now where we're living off the tefillos of last week's Shabbos Mevarchim. I was wondering why the guy was calling out the Moiled last week. Like, it didn't make any sense. Okay. Oh, last week was doing. Okay. So, they say there's a person in the shul is always complaining about everything. Whatever the Gabi calls up, he complains. The Gabi called out the Moiled Zan, Shabbos in the free dry eye. He goes, why so early? Like everything. Said everything at the wrong time. Okay, so this is a whole week of Shabbos Mevarchim. We benched the Chodesh last week for Shabbos, which is next Rosh Chodesh, and the whole week is we're playing out that tefillah. So let's take a closer look at that tefillah of Shabbos Mevarchim, which we said last week. So we ask Hashem, Yiratzim Ufanecha, and we say, the Sitin Lanu, give us Chayim Aruchim, give us a long life. Okay? And after we say a long life, how do you define long? I remember once in camp, there was an elder Yid, that was there many, many years, and he was in his 90s. And they were giving a hesped on someone, and they said, that person passed away in the Tifa Elton, that means in the deep old age of 88 years old. And this guy goes, what? What do you mean deep old age? He says, he's a very smart guy. He said, how old? He was 88. He goes, that's crib death, he said. Anyway, so what do we mean the Sitin Lanu Chayim Aruchim? How do you define long life? What's long? Okay? And then we give Kadosh Baruch Hu a list. We don't just want long life. No, not so simple. We want Chayim Shel Shalom. We want Chayim Shel Bracha. We want Chayim Shel Parnasa. We want Chayim Shel Chilutz Atzamais. And then we say, we do the Rebbeinu Shalom a favor also. We say, we also want Chayim Sheyesh B'hem Yiras Shemayim, the Yiras Chet. So after the Shalom, after the Bracha, after the Parnasa, after the Chilutz Atzamais, after the exercise, we remind ourselves we could also use a little Yiras Shemayim and Yiras Chet. How does that work? How do we explain the order here? And why is it in regard to all the other things we say Chayim Shel Shalom, Chayim Shel Bracha, Chayim Shel Parnasa, Chayim Shel Chilutz Atzamais, and suddenly it's not Chayim Shel Yiras Shemayim. Suddenly it becomes Chayim Sheyesh Behem Yiras Shemayim. Then we go back to Chayim Shalosh V'Chavod. Why don't we say Chayim Sheyesh Behem Shalom, Chayim Sheyesh Behem Bracha? Why suddenly when it comes to Yiras Shemayim is it Chayim Sheyesh Behem Yiras Shemayim? So there's a famous vart that there were two brothers, both inherited a tremendous treasure, and both hid it next to two trees, or between trees. And one brother came back and he realized that his treasure was gone, and he was desperate, and he was so depressed, and he mamish jumped off the roof. And the other brother said, listen, tough luck, your treasure is gone. And he lived a very coveted life, and suddenly people started asking him eitzes. That's how it is. Somebody once told me he lost his money. He doesn't understand. I lost my money, but I lost my mind. People used to always ask me advice. Now suddenly no one talks to me anymore. So, this guy lived a very, very rich life. At the end, it turned out the whole thing was a mistake. Is the one that jumped off the roof, he really had his treasure. He thought his treasure was lost. And the one that lived a very rich life, and everybody wanted to be mashadach themselves with the gevir and so on, he was the one that really lost his treasure, but they never knew about it. So when it comes to money, it really doesn't make a difference whether you have it or not, as long as you think you have it. So there it's Chayim Shel Shalom, Chayim Shel Bracha, Chayim Shel Parnas. But when it comes to Yiras Shemayim, it doesn't work that way. It has to be Chayim Sheyesh Behem Yiras Shemayim. It has to be real Yiras Shemayim. It has to be real Yiras Chet. In other words, it won't fly. In other words, it doesn't work. Got to go back to the notebook. Okay. So, Chayim of Shel Oisher B'Chavod. There's no Yesh, Chayim Sheyesh Behem Kavod, because there's no such a thing as Chayim Sheyesh Behem Kavod. Because when it comes to kavod, the more a person seeks, the more he wants. As one of the Bali Musar said, you can't be a bigger Bal Choiv than a person who's constantly seeking kavod. You always have the problem. I'm going to go up even on. I'm not going. I told you the story many times. I remember many years ago. I was still a bacher. Thank you very much. There was Yosef ben Etachayr l'fur shleim. So there was like this event that was taking place. And they had a screen on the outside because there wasn't enough place for all the people. It was some asifa for something. And there was a dais. And you see the Shayna Yidden coming up, and they walk up to the dais. They start. You see the guy that was taking care was like panicking because he was running out of, with a long line getting up there to the dais, and he was running out of seats. So you see this one person, who obviously believed he belonged on the dais, so he walks up there, and he's walking up there, but there's no empty seats on the dais. It's like he walks up the steps on one side, and he's walking and walking and walking, he's by the other side, about to come off, and you see he's like stuck. What he didn't realize that the cameras were focused on him, and like 300 people outside were watching him. And you see he was waiting for someone to get up so he can grab his seat. So he shouldn't have to walk up and walk back down. And every time it looked like somebody moved, he started going for the seat and stopped, back and forth and back and forth. And the place outside was rolling. I said, if this guy would know the cover that he was getting over here from being up on the dais. So someone said over there, after 120 years, it's going to be the same, will be the same Gelechter. What are you running for? I tell you, some people, Simchas Torah, they have a special minyanim for Kehanim, makes it easier. Special minyan for Levian, separate Kriyas Torah. The Gavay in my shul called out, okay, the Kehanim in that corner, Levian in this corner, Bachrim in that corner, and whoever needs Shishi, all the Shishi people in that corner, every Ali over there is Shishi. Okay, go ahead. There was a Rav that said, I don't need Shlishi, I don't need Shishi, I need a Hisafa, I need a raise over there. So we ask Hashem, give us Chayim Aruchim, give us a long life, and it's followed by Chayim Shel Shalom, Chayim Shel Bracha, Chayim Shel Panasa, Chayim Shel Chiltzim. Now once heard this pshat, okay? We ask Hashem, please give us a long life. And Hashem says, what are you going to do with that life? And I say, what am I going to do with the life? I'm going to try to live a peaceful life. I'm going to try for it to be a life of bracha. I'm going to try to make parnasa. I'm going to try not to sit on my own laurels, but to move around with different pshatim, what chilutz atzames means. And the Rebbe Hashem says, that's very nice. But you need siyata d'shmaya for shalom, for bracha, for parnasa, for chilutz atzamai. So what are you going to do with this life? You're asking for a long life. What are you going to do with it? And finally we get it. We say, no, we're going to put in Yirah Shamayim. But Rabbi Hashem, you give us the keli, you give us the long life, you give us the shalom and the bracha and the parnasa, v'neina keli machzik bracha l'shalom, and we'll instill the Yirah Shamayim. If we do that, it becomes a chayim she'ein b'em busha chlima, because we say, Yisi Hashem, we promised, we did what we did, and it becomes a real life. We know who we are. And the Yeshiris becomes an Oisher, and we end, at the end, the tefillah is, it should be Chayim Shal Oisher V'chavod. Why is this all the way at the end? Because we're saying to the Rabbeinu Shalom that if you give us the Chayim Aruchim, you give us the Shalom, give us the Bracha, give us the Parnasa, we're going to put the Yirah Shamayim. That's why it says Sheyesh Bem Yirah Shamayim. You give us the Keli, we'll fill it up with Yirah Shamayim. And we won't be embarrassed. And then the money will turn into a Chayim Shal Oisher V'chavod. Because not every Ashirus is an Ashirus of Kavod. They say there was this cheap person, we won't say which nationality, because that would be offensive to some people. And also it changes depending on who you're talking to, but he was like really cheap and rich. And every time a yid came to him for tzedakah, nothing, a penny. This is not the story of the rusty penny. This guy only gave pennies. And finally one person came and he's crying. And he says, look at my shoes. Don't you see my toes are sticking out of my shoes? Don't you see how desperate I am? He says, now I really, you're for real. Follow me. I'm going to help you. You've moved me, I'm going to help you. And he follows him into the vault, and they pass by, and the guy looks at Nebuch, and he sees stacks and stacks of $100 bills, stacks of shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves. And he comes to the end, and he takes off this stack of $100 bills. There's tears in this guy's eyes. He has to marry off so many kids. And he takes off the rubber band from the stack of $100 bills and says, here, put this around your shoe. It'll hold the soul in place. Not every Ashiris is a Chayim of Oisher V'chavod. It's, you have to get it straight. You have to ask Hashem for Chayim Aruchim. You have to get the bracha of Shalom, bracha Parnasa Chilutz Atzamais. You have to then say, Kadosh Baruch Hu gave me a gift. I have to instill in this gift a Yirah Shamayim, and then it becomes a Chayim of Oisher V'kavod. As they say from the famous, a lot of the famous dictators, that their wives had a new pair of shoes every single day of their life. Most of the thing is polishing shoes. And when those dictators finally were the next one on the ring of dominoes, so they would, the ridicule of how they abused the people would be through the shoes. And you compare that to, the Rothschild. They said every day he ordered a new pair of tefillin, and he gave away lahavdil, and he gave away the pair of tefillin to a poor person every single day. Different world. Rothschild once came Shabbos to a certain town. No one knew who he was. No pictures in those days. No Twitter, no Facebooks. Baruch Hashem, different kind of life. Yeah, different Nisyanis, but not these Nisyanis. And he shows up in town. He decides he's not telling anybody who he is. And he books a room and comes into shul the next morning. And he wants to go over and say brachas because it's getting late. They tell him, no, the Rosh Hakol is coming. The Rosh Hakol, you don't mess with the Rosh Hakol. He's like the town gevir. No. He's already such a pachet from the Rosh Hakol. And then the Rosh Hakol walks in. And he starts yelling and screaming. Never mind, somebody was sitting in his seat, somebody was close to his seat. People get very nervous about their seats in shul. You have to be kavei makam l'tfilas. That's within Daled Amos. That's within 8 feet. I saw this once in a shul. I don't want to say which shul, but there were two 99-year-old people that were about to kill each other for whose place it was. And they were both sitting on a long bench, and there was absolutely, there was nobody else on the bench. And the shamus came out with a piece of chalk and literally made a line down the middle of this wooden bench and said, you sit here and you sit here. I guess there are certain things, if you don't heal when you're young, the guy that called the travel agent and was furious. He said, I ordered 50 times. I told you that you should book the seat near the window. And it was not a window seat. It was not a window seat. He goes, I'm sorry, the computer messed up. He goes, I'll never use you again. He goes, it's so important to you, the window. Did you ask the person sitting by the window to change? He says, no. He says, why not? Because there was no one there. So how could I ask him to change? A lot of people I think there are people that thrive on victimization. I once davened in a yeshiva. There was no one there. There was very schwach, the Schachter. So it was like 9-10 people. And there was an old man, he came in every morning, he would say, this place is a Beis HaKvaris! It's a Beis HaKvaris! We heard you. It's not a Beis HaKvaris, because it's very loud over here, you know what I mean? And every time somebody would walk in, he would go, Malach HaKayim Beis HaKvaris, huh? Then they changed the whole system, and they got the Bachrim to come, the Beis Medrash filled up, I never saw the guy there again. I guess you took away his whole Metzius. You took away his whole. There are some people that. So Chaim Shel Oisher V'Chavod is a very different kind of Oisher V'Chavod. Very different kind of. Some people understand how the yeshiras turns into kavod. So Rothschild comes to this place. He sees this guy screaming his head off, and then it comes to the aliyah. And it seems that they sold the aliyahs, and this rich gavir, he always bought shishi. Everybody is petrified of him. And they go, 1,000 pennies shishi, it goes 10,000 pennies shishi, and the gavir goes 100,000, and Rothschild goes 500,000. Whoa! They're telling him, not him. He's the you don't mess with him. He's the what? He's the gavir, the town gavir, the rich guy in the town. He says, and when the guy goes, 50,000, Rothschild goes 100,000. They're like, all of a sudden they're getting they're up to like half. They're up to almost the Powerball numbers. Finally, Rothschild says, I'm buying it for twice the total value, net value of all his assets. Whatever his total assets are, he says, I'm going to pay double for it for the aliyah. You can't bid against that, right? And everyone's like, Shaq, he's a liar. It's impossible. He's a liar. You're not going to leave this town. Matzah Shabbos, so you pay it. No problem. So Matzah Shabbos, they come into Rothschild. They don't know who it is. So they pay up. He says, well, let me see his books. They say, no, he doesn't want to show you. I don't have to pay it, So at the end, they bring his books, and they realize that he is the biggest Baal Choiv in town. That he owes everyone money. He goes, double the owner. He says, you owe me money. He goes, he owes 100,000 to everybody. Give me 200,000. So they asked Rothschild, how did you know? He says, I can tell it wasn't real Ashiras. I just can tell from his attitude. Then I want, that's the Chaim Shel Oisher V'Kavod that only steps in after a while. Now, at the end, we say, Chaim She'amali Hashem Yishalos Libeinu. In other words, that if you live your life this way and you understand the purpose of life, so you know what to ask for. But let's get back to that first request, the request for Chaim Aruchim. What does that mean? Why is that the Hagdama? The reason that's the Hagdama is because, and I want to quote Rav Pam, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, used to give the Friday Shir. It was very, very important to him. Every Friday he gave a Shir. And he said why he started, and he would ask, he said, if you had to miss the Gemara, when I was in the Shir, it was the Gemara Shir. We learned Bava Basra that year, Cheskas Abata. But even when he gave the Yismicha, the Yerdei Shir, every Friday was the Chumash Shir. And Rav Pam said, if you have to miss a day in the week, don't miss Friday, miss another day. It was very important to him. He did it because father once complained, the son has nothing to say, but a Shabbos table, so... and he said that just like the Balabasta, Rav Pam used to say this, just like the Balabasta prepares the kugel for Shabbos, it's incumbent upon the man to prepare Dvar Torah and a story for Shabbos. And not that makes you look good, but that could be Mashpia, Yerushalayim, and Midas Taivas on the people. So Rav Pam, he was talking about Korach, and he said we live in an instant world. That's what Rav Pam said. Everybody wants instant gratification for things. As Rav Pam said, there's instant coffee. In his days, that was instant coffee was the there's instant test results, there's instant communication, and people think, said Rav Pam, that there are instant Talmidei Chacham. And because there's no such a thing as an instant Talmid Chacham, so people aren't becoming the great Rosh Yeshiva, and it leads to hopelessness and depression. Those are Rav Pam's words. And Rav Pam also said that Torah is not achieved in leaps and bounds. It's Yegia Kepecha Kisaycha. And the way to be Matzliach in Torah is an appreciation for every pasuk, an appreciation for every blot, an appreciation for every halacha. He always used to quote the Chazal, don't try to look at the entire Shulchan Aruch. But loy mit adam shtei halachas hayom, you learn 2 halachas today, 2 halachas tomorrow, ad shenase nachal noveya. And I was thinking that maybe that is the bracha of Chaim Aruchim, a long life. You know what, Rabbi Shalom? I don't need instant. I don't need instant. If it's too quick, get rich quick schemes don't work. That's where people lose all their money. I want Chaim Aruchim. I have no problem waiting things out. The Rebbeinu Shem, you just give me the long life. I should be able to wait things out and see it. But as far as the timetable is concerned, just when things have to happen, I understand that my relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu is not a soda machine relationship, where you put in $1 and out comes the soda. And sometimes it's not the right soda, but that's not what, a little private thing here. Okay, but that's not what we are, it's not our relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. A real, significant, meaningful relationship is Chaim Aruchim. And that's the biggest bracha in the world. And if you understand the bracha that it's not meant to happen the next second. The Rabbi Shalom, you know, a shidduch for my daughter. Boom, Schachter rings, that's it. 1, 2, 3, that's it. L'chaim, not done. Chas for the next week, you know. By the end of the week, they already have 8 o'clock. It doesn't work that way. I want chayim aruchim. That's all. Give me the patience to sit back and enjoy the ride of life. And if you understand chayim aruchim, automatically in the meila, it is chayim shel shalom, chayim shel bracha, chayim shel parnasa, chayim shel chilutz atzamas. Now you're going to ask, so why does the Kadosh Baruch Hu have to make us wait? Why can't the Kadosh Baruch Hu give it to us right away? And the answer is because it has to be chayim sheyesh b'hem yiras shemayim b'yiras chayim. And if we're going to have everything on order, it's not going to be chayim sheyesh. It's not going to be a life of yiras shemayim and yiras chayim. Whatever amount of pressure, whatever amount of value, whatever amount of concern, whatever amount of anxiety a person is going through, the Rebbeinu Shalom says this is tailor-made either for your tikkun or to bring you down to a level of yiras shemayim. And it may not be comfortable now, but ultimately it is this level of yiras shemayim that leads to the bracha. I'll never forget when I had one of my children. So there was someone next door in the hospital room. And that person, no recognition who that person was, but whatever, that mother was terribly, terribly upset that she had a girl, she wanted a boy. Somehow her order got mixed up. And she was screaming and yelling and crying. And all of a sudden, one day the pediatrician came in, he said, Mrs. So-and-so, you know, he thought that there was a problem with the child. And all of a sudden she was hysterical. She went bonkers. And then they came back and said, oh, it was a mistake. No, it's okay. Yeah, I love when they do that, right? You know, further testing showed that it's okay. My baby, bring me my baby, right? She's hugging this baby. And I'm looking at this scene, and I'm saying that's an extreme case. But you realize that unfortunately, our appreciation only comes when there's a tzimtzum. There's a certain appreciation for life that comes only along the Vilna Gaon, when he went in Gullus. They were able to do Gullus when they didn't have pictures. So he wasn't feeling well, and he was in the house of a very rich person. I forgot where. Venice, one of those like places. I remember exactly where. And he saw the man that had a tremendous library over there. The Vilna Gaon wrote it was a very nice day. He didn't say who he was. And the man was unbelievably mechabed his wife. He was mechabed his wife in an amazing way. I mean, did breakfast and lunch and supper, and he was always running for a covet. So before he left, the Gra thanked him. And he said, you know, you're doing the right thing, but what's the story behind this? So he said that he was a chassan, and he was promised a tremendous natan, a tremendous dowry, and right before the wedding, his father-in-law lost his money, and he broke the shidduch. He says, you know, the Rav told him he could break the shidduch. How many Rabbanim do you go to? 10, you know, till he found someone who told him he could break the shidduch. That's it, you know. Finders, finders, weepers, losers, not the other way around. Okay, that's it, you know. And he got married to someone else, and not long after he got married to someone else, he developed, Rahman al-Islam, some type of tzara, some type of leprosy, and first they tried to heal him. When they realized that they can't heal him, they quarantined him, and when they realized that there's no cure, they quarantined him permanently. And they made him give a get to his wife, and he was all alone. And he got to wander from town to town, and from place to place, and he had no home, and people were scared to take him in. And once he saw a man coming on a wagon. He told him, get onto my wagon. He says, I know your tzara. I never have a daughter that has this leprosy. The whole family had it. The father had it. The daughter had it. Let's be together. He said, people have Rahmanis on us. And after a while, he realized that this daughter was the original cow that he was supposed to marry, and they didn't recognize each other from there. Went on with the skin. So they got married, Nebuch. Now it was a good shidduch. He says, not long after they got married, they were healed. Both were healed. So he realized afterwards that the Masav HaSibis brought things back to the way they were supposed to be. And afterwards he was blessed with great wealth. So he said, if you want to know how I treat my wife that way, why I appreciate my wife that way. So we want to say to the Rabbi Shalom that we don't need the extremes to appreciate things. That's number one. That we're asking Hashem, you know, let us go straight to the appreciation. But because human nature is not that way, so Chaim Sheyesh Ba Yiras Shemayim, the Yiras Chait, we have to go through a process where, and that's why in the best of relationships, there's an up and down. It's never 100%. It's you know, and that's normal. It's normal that even in a couple where everything is going okay, there's one day that like you're not talking to each other. As long as it's just a cold, not a pneumonia. And the next day, things are back, and everyone's apologizing to each other and being all nice. And, the guy goes on Friday to buy flowers. He says, I want a nice piece. And, the flower girl says, well, tell me what exactly you're looking for. So I don't know how to describe it. So he goes, well, tell me what you said wrong to your wife, and I'll know what you need, what level. Tell me what you did and how you have to apologize. But that's a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship means there's a break. And the emes, the Svarim bring, that everything a person has is going to be challenged. Everything a person has. I once read the Russians had a hockey team for the Olympics that officially was not a professional hockey team, because in those days there weren't a lot of professionals, communists. And it was the army team, it was the top-notch team, it beat all the teams in the NHL. And they had a system where even if their own team had the puck, they would shoot at their own goalie. Because they wanted that the goalie can never be like at ease. He always has to be, in other words, he has to know he can be betrayed even by his own team member. The Rebbeinu Shalom makes it, lahavdil, that everything we have, so think about this, go through your life and think about this. I'm so happy, I can hear people say, I'm so happy with the bus driver. I'm so happy with the bus driver, my child. He's so loyal, he's so good. And also, yesterday, he came, he was in such a nasty mood, he was hunking, and he was like, today, Baruch Hashem, everything is fine. Everything that's perfect has to have a day where it's not perfect. It's not, you don't appreciate it. And there are times in life we say, this I thought for sure would never betray me. Guy has a job 50, 60 years, I don't know what he does there. But all of a sudden they say, maybe we need somebody else, maybe we need this. And even if it works itself back in. Or a boss who's so nice and you have such job security. One day he says something you're not so sure. But Rabbi Hashem has to remind us, whatever we have, our employment, our money, everything is vulnerable. Why? Because this way we need the Rabbi Shalom. And this way we have a karas hatayv. This way we have an appreciation for it. So somebody was once, the Chavetz Chaim Islam long Shmon Esreis, there was someone once went to the Rebbe, can you teach me the Kavanas HaRizal? Chavetz Chaim said, I don't know what Kavanas HaRizal. That's what he said. He said, why does Shmon Esrei take so long? He says, when I come to Moedim, it's very hard to go through fast. I have to thank Hashem for everything that I have. And I'm overwhelmed with tears and with, it's hard for me to, it's hard for me to thank Hashem for everything that I have. If you stop and think about all the wonderful things that I have, it's a very, very difficult thing. How do I get through? There's no end to me thanking Hashem. You understand, the longer of the time you spend by Moedim, the less of the time you need the Rabbeinu Shalom to do things so that we should have to appreciate it, so that we should have to understand it. But in any event, we've discussed this many times. The Rav Tzaddik says that the anxiety and the actual gzeira are two different things. They're not necessarily aligned. And I heard this once I read someplace, that someone says, imagine the following scenario, okay? You have a man whose heart arteries are closed 90%, chas v'shalom, and he never knew about it. And he lived till he's 110. And he died, happy guy. And for whatever reason, they opened up his heart and they found it was 90% stuff, but he never knew about it. Then you have someone whose heart is closed 70%. And he takes an angiogram, the doctor says, your heart is closed 70%. For the rest of his life, he'd sit his head off. So here you have one person who, the Metzias is, he's living by a hair, and he's the happiest person. So in other words, it's just an example of how the daigas that we go through is something so different. I heard a real tearjerker this week. A lady that was here for treatments, Rahman al-Islam. She wound up, she was here for a year and a half. An American, an Israeli woman. And they finally brought her children. It'll be okay, Mez Hashem. They finally brought her children to visit her when they saw the mother's getting better. Baruch Hashem, she'll soon go back. And she said, the children were infants, and the infants grow very fast. And they came back, they didn't recognize their mother. And they said, and the lady that brought them said, this is Ima, this is your mother. And the kid said, my Hebrew, the kid said, oh, your name is Ima? And the mother fell apart. She said for a year and a half she's crying, she's missing her kids, and now her kids don't recognize her. So she went up to the Rav there said, you have to understand, this is a chaylik of the Gzeira. This is part of the Gzeira. And because if you accept this Gzeira, which is emotional, the Rebbeinu Shalom will help you heal the physical Gzeira. The Rebbeinu Shalom gives us, Rav Tzaddik repeats this theme many times, Sefer Tzidkas Tzaddik and other places. That the more we accept the emotional gzeira, the anxiety, the worry, the frustration, then the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu can take away from the physical gzeira. Somebody once said, it's very hard to get into Fort Knox, obviously. You got security and security. There are those that can get in and out whenever they want. The mice. But they get nothing out of it. Okay? There's so much in life. We go in and out as much as we want, but if you don't appreciate what life is all about, then what is the point? So most of the things that worry us, we don't see. I saw this with my own eyes. Remember the snowstorms like a couple of years ago, right? This weather's good to think about snowstorms. And I was walking home from yeshiva, and there's a kid on a scooter, and he's scooting up a little mountain of snow into like a hole in the middle. And he's having a blast. And I see the school bus is backing in. And I'm like, there's no voice coming out of me. I remember the pachad. I'm like a block away. And the bus, the kid is in there. He's like laughing a few minutes, gets out with the scooter, tries again. And the bus is backing in. The driver doesn't see him. All he sees is the mound of snow in his rearview mirror. But the driver can't get into the thing. His tire starts skidding. So he pulls up and he's backing in like stronger to be able to get through the ice into the thing. And the driver pulls up, and the other drivers are telling him, no, shoot back, reverse. And he reverses, and the kid is there, like, ah! And like the last second, the kid gets out, and he's skimming off, and the driver goes smashing through the whole mound of snow, goes flying all over places, and he pulls into the spot, and you see the driver giving a thumbs up to the other driver. He did it! He did it? Gewaldig, I'm saying, imagine this kid comes home, and the mother says, where were you? You ripped your pants again, look at it, full of ice, I can't believe it, I never pair of pants. Does this mother know what almost happened now? Does that driver know what almost happened now? So, in reality, Ein Balanes Marker Benise. We're going to come up after 120 years, because Baruch is going to show us things. We're going to go, oy vey. And that's what I was worried about. The Daiga, the Tirdis, and the actual Metzias is two separate things. The purpose of the Tirda is to say, okay, the B'nai Shalom, I realize that I need a certain amount of reminder, I am in your hands. And I cannot forget not to appreciate things. I think Rabbi Bragg said that the B'nai Shalom does 100%. We do the rest. Because Baruch Hu does, really basically, if the B'nai Shalom does everything. They say from the Beis Yisrael, the Ger Rebbe used to say, but a bacher, don't worry if a bacher is too far from. He says a bacher has to have 120% Yireh Shamayim. He says why? Because when he grows up, he's going to lose the 100%. Let him at least have the 20. Let him at least have that. Somebody once said that life is like paint by number. Kid does the paint by number. Look how great! Oh, you're so sweet, it's so beautiful. You hang it up in the sukkah. It's so nice. It's all paint by number. The Rebbeinu Shalom gives us the talent. The Rebbeinu Shalom gives us the ability. The Rebbeinu Shalom gives us the idea. The Rebbeinu Shalom gives us the people to work with, and we're so proud about what we did. Right? So, in order for it to be a Chaim Shal Shalom, Chaim Shal Bracha, Chaim Shal Parnasa, you have to have somewhere along the lines a Chaim Sheyesh Ba Yireh Shamayim, and it creates a completely different relationship. And therefore, toward the end, we say, Chaim Sheyamalolanu Kol Mishalos Libeinu L'Taiva. That you see, Rabbi Shalom, I know how to ask for something. I'm asking for the Keli, I'm asking for life, I'm asking for the opportunity to fill that life with Yireh Shamayim, and to understand the pressures in my life are guiding me. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, when it's getting desperate, and Moshe Rabbeinu is pleading that only Korach should be punished and not anyone else. So what does Moshe Rabbeinu cry out? Elokei haruchais lechal basar. What does that mean? Okay, haruchais l'chal basar. What's a ruach? Someone pass me a chumash. I would appreciate it. Shkach, thank you very much. Shkach. What is my lekei haruchais l'chal basar? Sometimes a ruach is a mood. Is a good ruach, a good spirit. So Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, you're going to punish everybody? There is no one that understands the mood of a person more than you. Two people get the same phone call. One person is so distressed by this call. The other guy says, who cares? One person is touched by money. One person is worried when there's a health issue. One person is crazy about there's a children issue. Everyone has different things that touch them. And the Rebbeinu Shalom controls everyone's mood, whether we have menuchas hanefesh one day, or we're worried, if we're a little bit anxious, over anxious, everything. The Rebbeinu Shalom, you know exactly where we are. How could you punish everyone? You see what's going on. There's a big machlokes. When did the story of Korach happen? The Eben Ezra holds that the story of Korach took place right after the Mishkan. Because it was by the Mishkan where Korach saw all the honor for Aaron, and then the Nasi of Sheva. Whoa, nepotism over here. How much Rebbeinu, you made it all up? The Ramban says, no. Where did the story of Korach take place? Took place right after the Meraglim. So where does Korach come in after the Meraglim? If anything, you saw what happened to the Meraglim. So what are you doing? So the Ramban says that Korach knew how to take advantage of when people are disappointed. They're about to come into Eretz Yisrael, they have their packages all packed, they're about to move in, and now they're told there's going to be a delay for 40 years.
So you can imagine that people were very vulnerable. When people are vulnerable, there are those that are going to come and take advantage of it. In that moment in your life that you feel, I just lost everything, and there's this sense of despondency, the sense of, oh no, now nothing, that's when Korach comes along and says, all your life people are taking advantage of you. And that's a very, very big Messiah to fight, because we fall to the luxury of victimization, which sometimes is so comforting, and it's so excusing for all the other things that we did. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, how could you judge Klal Yisrael? You know their moods. You know what they're going through. You know everyone's Messiah and everyone is judged on a different level. He said the story, he said this beer in the Gemara many times. Rabbi Shimon is walking and he sees this ugly, despicable, nauseating, repulsive, let me stop there, you get the idea, person. And he says to him, you're ugly. And it's like a little kid says that, you know, that person is so quiet there, right? Kids say what's on their mind. Emperor's new clothes, right? Don't need a kid to say the truth. But Akopanim, so kids, Reb Shimon, the one who sat all those years in the cave, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. So my father used to say, I think he said it from a tzaddik, I'm not sure, I never saw it inside. But he says, nah, the Gemara says, Reb Shimon called him ugly. What did he say to Reb Shimon? Right? Famous answer. Lech le'umin, go to the one who made me. Not making fun of me. So he fouled him, wanted to ask him a chila, and came to the town. The whole town came out. Finally, the Gemara says it was all Eliyahu Hanavi. He was just to teach Reb Shimon a lesson. Now, what does that mean? Reb Shimon would say to a person, you're ugly? How can you say that? The answer is, he meant ugly in, he saw Baruch HaKodesh, all the Averis that he did. That's what Reb Shimon meant. So what did he answer? Lech le'umin shesuni, go to the one who made me. That's b'chira, that's free choice. And the answer is that he was saying to Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, listen here, you have Ruach HaKodesh. You can look at me and you can see the Averis that I did last night, but the pressure that I'm under, the disappointments in my life, the taiva, the level of my frustration that only one Boiri Kalelamim knows. So the Moshe Rabbeinu cries out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Elekei haruchais l'chol basar. Every single person sitting by the shir, every single person listening, everyone, including myself, we all have different things we're worried about, different pressures, different isyonos, and the Rebbeinu Shem knows the level playing field of what we could do and what we can't do. Chavetz Chaim says in the Sefer Shem Olam, there's Zvulun and Yisachar, right? Zvulun is out there on the marketplace, he's sitting in the stock market, he's out there in the commodities, and Yisachar is in the base of Medrash, he's the Kyle, he's sitting there learning. There's another meaning to Zvulun and Yisachar. There's a time in your life you're a Yisachar, there's a time in your life you're a Zvulun. I can't learn, forget finished. The person's struggling in his amunah, he's struggling with his davening. So Zvulun, so support Torah, support your own Torah, put on a face on the outside like you're learning, and you'll be rewarded. Just like it says, Zvulun is rewarded for Yisachar, you'll be rewarded for the Chavetz Chaim, the Sefer Shem Olam, you'll be rewarded for the Zvulun part of your life as well. The Yerugas HaBaisim says an amazing word, he quotes it from the Bel Zerah. He says the Torah is called Eishes Chayil. Torah is called Eishes Chayil. So there are times that the couple could be together, there are times the couple can't be together. Times of Tumas, is there such a thing in our relationship with Torah? It's always there. So he says, no, in our relationship with Torah, sometimes we have a geschmack to learn, and sometimes we're so bogged down and we're wondering why isn't the Torah protecting me? But what happens when in the life of a couple, so even in a time that they can't be together, she still cooks, she still bakes, still life goes on. He says that's why the Torah is called Eishes Chayil. Life goes on. That's at the end of Masechtas Nida. It fits one of the Masechtas that finish. He says, Kol Hashayin Alachis B'chal Yom, Muftach Lo Yishib Ben Olam Haba. Kol Hashayin Alachis B'chal Yom. You're in the mood of learning today, you're not in the mood of learning today, your imun is on a high, I believe the Torah is going to protect me, the Torah is geschmack, I am so not in the mood of learning, there's so much on my head, you're opening up the Sefer and gegangen weiter. And you learn weiter. That's a Kol Hashayin Alachis B'chal Yom. The Muftach Lo Yishib Ben Olam Haba is if you ride through the ups and downs. Right? But when does it become a Nachal Noveya? When does it become a stream? That's if he learns the two halachas on the day that he's in the mood of learning and on the day that he's not in the mood of learning. When life is going his way and when life is not going his way. You have to come through. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, you can't punish everybody the same way. Of course, by Moshe Rabbeinu saying it was Ma'ir the Schus and Klali, so let's say the Rebbeinu Shalom put it this way. But
But you know everyone's mood. You know every single person. What they're going through. It's in a completely different world. Can't do it that way. Can't hurt people because, you know, we all know the famous story the Gemara says in Bava Metzia that Rabbi Eliezer had a major machloikis with the other Chachamim. It was about an oven, whether it's tamei or tar, oven that was broken up into pieces, put back together. Rabbi Eliezer said one thing and the other Chachamim said something else. And it became very heated. And Rabbi Eliezer said, if what I'm saying is right, let that carob tree show it. And boom, the carob tree goes shooting out, goes flying. And they answered, we don't paskin from flying carob trees. You know, so he said, if I'm right, I'm going to let that water. See that stream, let it turn around and go the other way. We don't paskin from streams. If I'm right, let the walls of the Smedrash cave in. The walls of the Smedrash started going, whoa! Right? Yeshua said, no, stop. He said, it's not going to show us what to do. The walls remained halfway down. So finally, Rabbi Eliezer, on behalf of Rabbi Eliezer, a baskoel, a heavenly voice rings out and says, you don't pass like Rabbi Eliezer. And Rabbi Yeshua stood up and said, Torah lav b'shamayim. Torah is not a shamayim. What is the real meaning of Torah lav b'shamayim? It's not what that guy said. He was watching the movie on the plane, and someone said, what are you doing? He says, Torah lav b'shamayim. No, that is not what it means. Torah lav b'shamayim means that, you know, we limit our Torah is not, let me open a sefer, millions of malachim flying around me. Here's Avaya, here's Ravas, of Sais of Davis Bekavas. That's maybe what's happening. Not maybe what's happening, is what's happening. But we can't see it. If we would see it, there would be no Bechira. That's what we see in the Olam HaEmes. The Kedushas HaTorah is that we're learning when it's tough to learn. We're learning when it's hard to learn. And we push it through. So Rabbi Yeshua says, I'm sorry, Rabbi Eliezer. The Torah came from Sinai. And achrei rabim lahatois. We don't paskin. Trees don't paskin for us. Waters don't paskin for us. Falling walls don't paskin. Even baskals don't paskin for us. Ein mashgichim b'baskel. We don't paskin on the basis of a baskel. What does that mean? When we say you go basar roiv, what does that mean, basar roiv? Basar roiv means that there's an element of suffix. Right? There's 9 kosher stores and 1 not kosher store. And if I find a piece of meat in the middle, as long as it's outside of the store, kol parish, miruva parish, the Torah says this is kosher. But it may be. But there's a 1 out of 10 chance. The Torah says it's kosher. Achrei rabim lahatais. I really feel much better if a tree came flying over here and said, don't worry, it's kosher. You know, if the water would turn around and say, kosher, you know, if a basko would ring out kosher, that's what you'd feel better. But that wouldn't make it kosher. What makes it kosher is the Torah says there's an element of suffix, there's a problem, and the psak halacha is kosher. That's what achrei rabim lahatos means. So it says, Rav Nosson met Eliyahu Hanavi and said, what's Hashem say to this? So the Gemara says, Hashem says, the Eibishter laughed, kaviyachol, whatever that means. And it's chuni benin, it's chuni. My kids went out. This is what I wanted them to say. What does it mean Hashem laughed? Of course, there's no physical, but what is the lesson? What is the message? Now, the Chayra laughed is only when there's an element of surprise. People laugh when you say a joke that you didn't think you're going to hear. The Olam here has a lot of Rachmanis. They laugh and they'll hear the joke 10,000 times. Not everyone is so, polite. What makes us really laugh when there's an element of surprise? Something happens that's unexpected. So how Schachter HaKadosh Baruch Hu laughter, kaviyachol, even in the form of a mashal, even in a metaphor, if nothing is unexpected? So the answer is, it's a sign of simcha that the Rabbi Shem has with Klal Yisrael, says the Kedushas Levi. There is nothing that generates simcha when a yid says, I don't see flying malachim, but I'm going to try to be an erlich yid. I'm going to try the next day. I'm going to work on my shalom bayis. I'm going to work on my davening. I'm going to work on my learning. I'm going to work on my amunah. I'm going to work on my not speaking lashon hara, whatever it is. So when Reb Chaim Volozhin came to the Vilna Gaon and he said, I have an amazing idea of a lashon in yeshiva. It's going to turn out a new thing. A yeshiva never existed before. And the Gra said, no. No, this is going to save the world of Torah. No. So being that he got less than a full enthusiastic response, he didn't do it. A year later, the Gra said, what's with the lashon in yeshiva? He says, I should do it? Yeah. So he asked the Vilna Gaon, why were you so cold? He said, because you were too excited. When you have an amazing, quick thing that's going to save Klal Yisrael, I'm going to be very worried about it. If you were to come and tell me you have an idea, it may work, it may not work, I'll try it, let's see what happens. There's chal the bracha. Otherwise, we don't know if the bracha is chal. You don't know if the bracha is going to chal. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Lodin, they put Rabbi Eliezer and Chayrim, Rabbi Kiva have to go tell him, and Rabbi Gamliel is on a boat, and on the Nachshul there's a tremendous storm, it's about to turn over the boat, and he understands why. And Rabbi Gamliel calls out, Gali v'yadu l'fanecha, that I didn't do this for my own honor, And I didn't do it for the honor of my father. I did it shelo yirbu machlokes b'Yisrael. So we see it's dangerous business, because if he would have done it for his own honor, then it would have been all over. So Zak the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, and I think it's kedai to look in this Orach Chaim HaKadosh inside. Keil Elokei Ruchas L'chol Basar, says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, that a Kadosh Baruch Hu has hanoah from three things. This is the ultimate pleasure, Kabiyachol to the Rebbeinu Shalom. The shamis of tzaddikim that didn't come down to this world yet, that are in the waiting room, beautiful waiting room of Shemayim, for the shamis. They say Shir to Hashem, it's amazing. The shamis of tzaddikim that go up to the Olam HaEmes after they were down here in this world, their shir is so pleasant to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. L'mayla mehem, says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, Hanashamois asher hein bi Olam hazeh. The shamis that are down here in this world, asher hein betoich basar, that are in basar. You hear in basar. The guy's a rotten mood. He ate 6 portions of supper, all the portions that his kids didn't want to eat. He's depressed. He's angry. He'll let it day. Go down a marriage. Go learn, V'hu moina me heker Hashem, says the Chavetz Chaim. And the betoich basar, the tithes that are ripping. I should close my iPhone and smartphone. It's a key to the world, and open a Gemara. You know what the saying that is? To be minded, this is not a key to the world, and the Gemara is the key to all the alamis that's doing up there. V'umoina meheker Hashem, v'hein, and they, these people in the basar, misantzim lehoiv Hashem, says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Ze el yain, this is the highest midrega. Hashem has more hana from you who are not in the mood of davening Ma'ariv. You that are not in the mood of Shachris. You that are not in the mood of smiling at your wife and kids, or the wife that's not in the mood of smiling at her husband. Hashem has more hana from you. V'chashu, greater cheshek, etzel aboyra, l'mala meharkal, more than all the neshamis, more than anything else in Ganei. Schachter Chaim, Elokei Ruchas L'chol Basar. The Rebbe says, you want to kill people? But your greatest tainuk is when they're in the basar. The zman shehem bi basar. If you're going to kill them, you'll be losing out. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's taina. So what comes out from here? Comes out from here, what is our greatest quest for life? What's our greatest taina for life? Keep me in the basar. I don't need a Navi to come to me now and answer all my questions. I will do my best. Help me, guide me. I'll go for counsel and bracha. But I know that life goes on and things change. I know there are going to be difficulties. I know nothing is guaranteed. Just give me the kayach to go on. There is no greater argument for life than that is. Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Because there's no greater pleasure to HaKadosh Baruch Hu than a lekeya ruchais l'chol basar. Because that's the real Kiddush Hashem. No quick fixes. What does the Welt say? Alcohol doesn't solve all problems. Some say neither does milk. But milk does. Milk is the representation of going on to life. Somebody once came to a Rebbe and he said, what's your bakasha? He goes, Rebbe, I came to you a few weeks ago. Daughter wasn't well. Came to you last week, I had serious shalom bayis problems. I came to you yesterday, my landlord wanted to throw me out. So what's your bakasha now? I'm thinking, can the Rebbe give me a bracha? That what? I should never ever have to come to you again. Give me such a bracha. The Welt says the word, no atheists in a foxhole. Some say no chassidim in a foxhole. As chassidim say no misnagdim in a foxhole. You know how it goes. It's a mistake to think that our only relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is when we're in trouble. There's chaim sheyesh b'hem yiras shemayim, the yiras chait. We run to Hashem. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we want to have a relationship with you that's based on oisher v'kavod, that's based on ahavas hatayra. We want to come to the Rebbe not only when we're in trouble. We want to come to the Rebbe to get hadracha, to understand Pshat and the Taisus, to understand Pshat and the Noyan Elimelech, to say, okay, what can I do with my tzedakah money? We want to create the first an environment of a different kind of a relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I heard the story from a Melech Biederman, was ein gesund und stark. He said that there's a person, 2 young light in Eretz Yisrael, they learn to become bookkeepers or accountants. And there's Reuven and Shimon, and Reuven gets a job, and Shimon doesn't get the job. Reuven is working at this firm, and he's doing very well. The boss likes him, and Shimon says, Parnasa. I spent all this money on the course. Can you ask your boss to take me in? And Reuven says to Shimon, I can't ask my boss to do it. Please, Rahmanis. And finally Reuven walks in, and he's like, I have to do it for Shimon, I have to do it. And he goes, Shimon, my friend, you're here already 6 months, you're already telling me to hire somebody else. No, please, don't take it to heart if you can. All right, send him in for a temporary, I need somebody. Shimon comes in, he hits it up with the boss, great. And after a while, the boss really likes Shimon. And after a year, Shimon gets a major promotion. And Reuven is like, whoa. And Shimon is not so, his finesse is not exactly, his bedside manner is not the greatest. He's letting everyone know that he's getting 1,000 shekels more than everyone else. And Reuben is like plotzing, he has no parnassa. Not only that, Shimon, his attitude is like, Reuben is sitting there, he goes, okay, finish lunch, let's go get to work. Hello? Get to work. I'm doing my job, I'm your boss, right? The feeling, right? No good deed goes unpunished. Do somebody a favor when he's in trouble, and trust me, when he's in trouble, he'll call you again. No question about that, right? That's how it goes. So this Reuven was so angry at Shimon. He was so, jealous. He was suffering so hard, he couldn't pay his child limit, he couldn't pay anything. Here he brings Shimon, and Shimon is making more money. Shimon gets promoted. He was there from beforehand. Very common scenario. I've heard this many times. Something in life I guess we all experience once or twice. And he's storming out of the company. He tells his Rav, he's leaving the company, but he's having a parnasa, what are you leaving the company for? I can't take it, Shimon's right. I hate this Shimon. This is fine, I don't hate him, I just dislike him. I don't want anything to do with him. Maybe this is your assignment. Maybe this is your assignment. To be able to deal with this and say, Shimon can't do anything to you, and separate yourself from Shimon's attitude, build an emotional wall, do what you have to do. He says, and Shimon didn't even get it, what he's doing to Reuven. He would meet Reuven by night, by Chassan, his old boss, they're friends, let's go together. What's your problem? But the next day, Reuven was sitting in the hallway, Shimon comes by, no. Finally, along comes a Schachter, and Shimon is doing very well. He becomes a senior partner in the company, and Reuven is still on his own pace, feels like a fool. And suddenly, Shimon becomes a senior partner in the company. As the years goes on, the Rav says, stay. You don't know what's awaiting you in life. You yoitze your agus nefesh with this. As the years go on, so Shimon has a daughter, and he's looking for a top-notch bacher, and Reuven has a son. And Shimon sends a Schachter to read the Schachter. He's out of his mind. He sent the Schachter. He thinks, I'm going to give my son to his daughter. So he goes back to the Rav again. Remember the shidduch? No way. No, he wants my son. Yeah, I'll give it him all those years. He sends me in by lunch. The Rav says, does he have a good daughter? He has a very good daughter. It's a good house. It's a good house for your son to come into. Yeah. The Rav says, what's he promising? Promising a dira. Promising an apartment. That's true. Yeah. Let me ask you something. He says, how much money is he making more than you? 1,000 shekels more than you. Add up all those 1,000 shekels. Does it add up to a dira? Yeah, I think that adds up to a dira. Because don't you see? Because Baruch Hu gave you the same raise as him. But you have to go through this to get the raise. You could have stormed out. You could have said, I'm angry. You could have said, I have nothing to do with him. You could have said, I did say that God, I can't take this, Deal with it. Chaim sheyesh b'yer shevayim. Take out the Nesus Yisharim. Take out the Chafetz Chaim. He tells you, you can deal with the situation. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is giving you the bracha through this. There was a Yid, they called him Rav Archik. He was the Lomzer Rav. He was killed by the Nazis. Ish Kodesh had me. He came to Lomzer, so he went into the Koil the first time. He was very tired. It was a long trip. They were learning Hilchos Treifus. What were they learning? The halachas. He asked, where are you up to? The Shalom Shulchan. He went up to the Amid, started giving a shir. After he finished the shir, he said, it says in Shulchan Aruch that you're just learning like this. There are some ducks that think they know how to fly. They can flap a little bit over the water, but they see the seagull, going up, so they think that they go on top of a roof. And it's not as bad as the story with the ox that put on wings, but the duck goes off the top, or the chicken goes off the top, and he goes, whee, boom, right? Bunch of feathers lotus. And he gets up, he's hopping around, and now we want to know if he's treifing now. So there's certainly, there's a chash for Risuk Evarim, that is a Varim where that he's hurt. So one of the simonim is he has to walk around. And if he swims, so it depends. If he swims downstream, that doesn't mean that he's alive, because dead things also swim downstream. But if he swims upstream, that's a simon he's alive, and he's not treif. That is, he's healthy. He says, you see what the simon is? If someone is ruchnistic healthy, he has the courage to swim upstream. You have the courage to swim where it's not where you're pushing off. They say there was a din Torah by him, by this Rav Baksh, the Lomzer Rav. Two ladies were fighting over their clothes on the line. Whose it was? One lady said it was mine. You wonder why it doesn't happen every day, right? Each one's pulling in. Oh, excuse me. You want to let go, please? You want to let go, please? No, I'm pulling on my laundry. I'm pulling on my laundry. It's my laundry. They wind up by the Rav. So the Rav says, come back tomorrow. The next day they come back, he says to the first lady, okay, is this all yours? All mine! It's all mine! And he says to the other one, is this yours? She goes, no, this is mine, this is not, this is mine, this is not. Tells the first lady, why are you lying? How can you accuse me of lying? Why? Because I took my own pants and my own shirt and I put it in and you said it's all yours. That's all I know. And it says, this basing the the beams of a person's house is going to be made on us and love on what's going to be after 120 years. The Weinstein is going to show us. It's interesting. One last thing. After World War I, so the communities were devastated. The Lumja were destroyed. And there were a lot of orphans starving to death. So he sent them Mishalachas to America, and they collected a thing to build. They built an orphan house. They built this orphan house, big, huge, nice place. And an American diplomat came and he gave a drasha. In the middle of his drasha, he said, "It's about time." This is 1920, right? He says, "It's about time that the Jews of Eastern Europe learned to live on their own and stop schnorring from America." So it was like, I must say anything to an American diplomat, not in 1930 anyway. So the Lumja got up and he started answering. And he said to him, someone translate please what I'm saying? He said to him that you should know that there is a medrash. There's a medrash. And the medrash says that a woman was going to get her leket shikhapeya, get her grain on the floor, and the wind came and blew away the grain. She came to Shlomo Melch, she's taking Hashem to a dintar, why he brought the wind. Okay. Shlomo says, wait a second. In comes a guy to Shlomo and says, you know what happened? I was on a ship full of merchandise. I said, I'm going to miss the market. All of a sudden, this tremendous wind pushed the ship in the right direction. I got it 3 days earlier, just in time ahead of the competition. I made a killing. So Shlomo said, that wind that got you here early is the wind that blew away her grain. So you pay for it. So he turned to the American diplomat and said, America became rich on the war. Okay? On Europe burning up. There's nothing wrong with America giving this. They're not complaining, you don't complain. There's a wind that blows away grain in our life. But that same wind brings the ship in early. That's if we're willing to be makir, that the Chaim Sheyesh B'hem Yiras Shemayim, the Yiras Chet, is the key to the bracha, atzlacha, and everything else that we said last Shabbos.